to hop on and see later if they want to. So, okay. All right. So, good morning, everybody. Well, happy Saturday. It is we've made it to the 28th of March. I cannot believe it's almost April. Hard to believe. Hey, we generally kind of follow the same framework for these coffees so far. On the first one, on this one, I'm going to say welcome to everybody. I wanted to tell you that we are recording so that other people can hear it later if they can't be here today. Welcome. We have Barry Davis with us, our head of school. We have our associate head of school for advancement, Matt Getting, with us. Valerie is with us, our lower school head, and she's admitting people as they get in. She's a big help to me. A.B. Beth Sherman's here. She'll be moderating our conversation, our question and answer in just a little bit. And then we have a bunch of teachers. If you're not familiar with the screen, if you drag your cursor to the bottom, you'll see where you have options down there. And then up in the upper right-hand corner, you should see some little people with a number. It says 22 right now. If you click there, you can see who else is in the chat. Who else is in online. And then the little chat bubble next to it is our chat box. And we're actually going to be using that right now. So I'm going to invite all of you who are on, if you would think about this past week, and in 6 words, I kind of want you to tell a 6-word or less story, 6 words or fewer story. What made you smile? What made you laugh? What made you frown or steam or cry? Like, if you're willing to share in the chat box, just go ahead and go up to that top little chat bubble and type in what you think of from this past week. All right. Okay, and know that you can keep typing that into anytime you want to. You'll see all sorts of things. All right, thank you for sharing, everybody. We'll have another opportunity later to do some more sharing, and in just a little bit different way, okay? Because these virtual coffees can be very powerful for sharing good ideas, sharing resources that we find, and kind of helping each other brainstorm around obstacles that we could not before this experience would not have thought that we'd be faced with. So we'll do that in a bit too. So thank you for doing that. Okay. Hey, in middle school, I'm going to just take about 10 minutes or so, give you a little bit of a kind of a not a review, but kind of let you know some news that happened in the middle school this week, some things that we're working on, and also give you a couple tips from feedback that we've got from students and also from parents and teachers that might be helpful to you. And then we're going to use the majority of the time for question and answer and discussion. So that's where we'll go from here. All right. We had a great week of learning on all levels. So student learning, teacher learning, administrator learning, learning as family members, all sorts of things. Lots of really good things that went on this week. And know that for your students, our teachers have built in collecting feedback and input about the lesson, about their learning. Those are built into the lessons that kids are doing in lots of different ways. And then it's also built into advisory time and also the one-on-one time that kids do with teachers when they're in study hall for the afternoons or when they have their own extra meetings. So Let's see. Okay. Let's see. So one thing that we learned that, or I guess a reminder and also something that we learned, had a great conversation with a parent the other day. So we're teaching middle schoolers, well, we're helping middle schoolers develop their skills of self-awareness and self-regulation in everything, intellectually, social, emotionally, physically, you name it. We're trying to help them build and strengthen those skills. And so, so your student may or may not be spending kind of the recommended amount of time on their lessons. They might either be zipping through them really quickly, or they might be spending lots of time on them. A good ruler for right now would be about 45 minutes or so, for 60 minutes, probably about at the most, but 30 to 45 minutes that they should be spending on their lesson and also the work. And we keep encouraging students to do the work the day it's assigned. So on Monday and Wednesdays, they have math and science. They should be doing their lessons and their work for those subjects on those days. And ideally, they're doing them prior to the study halls in the afternoon. Study hall for 5th grade starts at 2, 6th grade's at 2:30, 7th is at 3, and 8th grade's at 3:30. So ideally, they're doing their work before 2 p.m. so that when study hall starts, they can take their questions there. That's part of their self-awareness of learning what are their questions and what action steps do I take in order to get my questions answered and for me to clear the obstacles away, or for them to clear the obstacles away for their learning. And then I also wanted to add that Related Arts had their first lessons on Friday, and in almost every case, music, art, chorus, performing arts, computer science, you have self-paced lessons that are on those Fridays. So sometimes they could be that day, but also there's times I know for a fact in art that those lessons are meant that they could spend 15 to 20 minutes each day on those during the week if you wanted to. And that would be something we would encourage you to consider, because it allows them to express their creativity, use their brain in a different way. I mean, a lot of our kids, well, I might say all of our kids, they love art class. So that might be something that you encourage them to do each day. And then, and about that, a couple notes that I want to pass along. So from teacher feedback and also from student feedback. And I have notes somewhere, and I just want to make sure I say all this. Okay, so I talked about building self-awareness. I wanted to make a recommendation to you. So one of the things that we do at school, and what your study hall teachers who are study hall proctors, and we talk about in advisory, are strategies that kids can use to learn to manage their time. Because their skills of self-awareness about how much time things take are not fully developed, there are some strategies that you can use that can be really helpful. You can, if a student wants to, if this works with them, they can set a timer so that they can see how much work they're getting done in a certain amount of time. You can use sticky notes. I like sticky note goals. So at the beginning, when they sit down, they can say, it's 9:15, and by 9:45, I want to have accomplished my math lesson and half of my homework. And they can see at the end of that. So at 9:45, they do a check and they look to see. So sticky note goals are a good thing, because once they're done, they can wad them up, basketball them into a hoop, and they feel accomplished. Plus, they've also practiced some time management skill. And another thing, you and I use this all the time, are to-do lists. And that's something that I would recommend as a strategy also. Something that you can help guide your student with, because in middle school, we're not expecting you to teach them. They're learning to be independent learners. And at different age levels, they have different abilities to do that. But quality of work is part of the reason why we say 45 minutes for those lessons. Because honestly, they could sit down in 7 minutes, probably say, oh, I'm done, and they're not done. But have they looked at it? Yes. Have they maybe hit a minimum, maybe less than minimum requirement? Maybe, probably not 7 minutes, probably more like 20 minutes. But they really need to be spending about 45 minutes or so and doing quality work. So effort is a large part of our conversations. You will have just received your second trimester report cards in the parent portal, where you can sign in and see those. And this trimester, we use our indicators. Those indicators are great things to look at as talking points for with your students, and also they're using good language with them to help them understand how they can put forth effective, good effort. And the last thing is just one more push for kids doing their homework the day it's assigned, so that they can attend study hall Google Meets with their teachers and get their questions answered. And it's okay if they just want to sign in. It's okay for you to say to them also, sign into your study hall, put your mic on mute, and just work on your homework and see if you have a question. Those are all really good action steps that they can take. Okay, the last thing I have before we open up for questions and answers and sharing of ideas and resources is I just want to thank you for encouraging your student when they have questions, for you to encourage them to A, develop a possible solution, and B, take their questions to their teachers, right? So at home, it could be really easy for them to come to you and say, how do I do this? And I would love it if you could say, tell me what you thought about that. You know, tell me what the resources are that you have. What can you do to solve your problem, to help solve your problem? And by encouraging them to do that, that just helps develop their skills of communication with adults, communication with people outside of their home that will help them, and also those other skills of self-awareness and regulation. So, all right. So my notes, my agenda just went to sleep. So I'm going to go so I can put it there. All right. Two things of one, a technical assist, and one about chapel before we go into questions and answers. A few parents have let us know, and students have let us and teachers know, that they were having trouble getting into their documents. And what we're finding is that there are usually two circumstances when that's happening. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. One, we're using G Suite. So we're using Gmail, Google Docs, all those products. G Suite plays really well and best with using a Chrome browser. So our recommendation is use a Chrome browser as your internet browser, not Internet Explorer, not Microsoft Edge or Safari. You will find that those will work, but G Suite plays best with Chrome. So be in a Chrome browser is the first piece of advice. And the second one would be, and this one's key, I should have probably made it first. You need to make sure that the student needs to make sure that they are the primary profile logged into your Gmail or into your Google account. So I'm going to put in the chat box, I'm going to put a video that one of our teachers made, Michelle Walensky made for us, that, and I'm actually going to do that in a minute because I'm pulled up on two different computers. I'll paste that in there for you, and I'll label it so you can scroll to it and get to it. She made a video that explains what the difference is between having account sign in and also which profile you're signed in. It's just a really short, less than a minute video that should help you. So those were two pieces of technical assist that I wanted to offer this morning. And then the last thing is just an informational piece. We're going to start weekly chapels next Wednesday. So on Wednesday the 1st, you can go to the school calendar, and I'm going to make sure I'm telling the truth about that. The school calendar should have a Google Meet there that you can, a meeting ID that you can get to that will take you to a meeting, Google Meet for chapel. Those chapels will also be recorded if you can't be there because the timing doesn't work for you. And that is at, Valerie, will you correct me, is that at 9 o'clock? I'll get back to you.
9:45.
9:45. So at 9:45 in the morning, thanks, Val. We'll have Wednesday chapels. I will say that the next week, it's not on Wednesday, it's on Thursday because it's the week before Easter, which is Holy Week. So instead of a Wednesday chapel, just like we normally would, we'd have a Thursday Tenebrae service. And there will be information coming out to you from Chaplain Hannah that will tell you the details. And then another chapel ad, which I think is super exciting, is that Chaplain Hannah on Facebook Live will be doing pod devotions. So normally pod devotions is limited to anyone who can come in on a Friday and join our youngest friends, preschool, pre-K, and kindergarten friends down in the early education pod. But while we're separate and we want to make sure that we still have that going, she's going to be broadcasting from there. I will also put the link to that in there, but it's on the St. Anne's Facebook page and using Facebook Live. So those are two chapel announcements that I want to make sure you have. More information will be coming out. So no worries there. All right. All right. So Amy Beth is going to moderate for us with questions. We have lots of folks here, and which is exciting. You can ask a question in the chat box. You could provide suggestions in the chat box. If you found any good resources, and you can open up another tab and share them with our friends here, that would be really helpful. Pretty much anything. We have time to go. And if you want to ask, well, we'll just leave it at that for now. Okay. All right. So if you have a question, please let us know. All right. Quiet group this morning. Okay, I feel like I should start. Let's see. Anybody want to share a challenge that they had at their house, or a resource and extension maybe that you used with your student, either one that we've recommended or one that you found on your own that you think that others would benefit from, because we can add that to our resources?
All right, I love this question from Barry. This is to all parents. What have you found challenging this week? And Group to Family said IXL is a very good source for all age groups. Thank you. I'll make sure I add that to the Tech Resource website. O'Connor Family said seems to go well. That's wonderful. O'Connor Family is also stating having consistent calendar with all meeting details for all kids seems to work best. I would agree. And the Rivera Family states balancing the noise when 3 of us are on live classes at the same time. Yes, we're finding that to be an issue in the Sherman household as well. So we're actually taking different floors. One family member is in the basement, one is in the main level, and one is upstairs to help balance that noise.
While you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to add, some of the feedback we got from some folks and the teachers noticed also is that I'm speaking to the comment about the consistent calendar and all meeting details for kids seems to work best. Is that we are gathering information now that we're 1 week in. Middle school is only one lesson in, but we've all gone through something once. we're going to look and see the Google, all of the Google Meets. We're going to look to see when those are happening, and look for conflicts, look for overlaps, look for those kinds of things. So know that that we're looking at that to review our plans.
And this is Scott from Judy Scotty making a comment. I want to thank all of the teachers for their help this week. Brianna found it very helpful to be able to ask as many questions as possible. And I appreciate all you do. Thank you. It makes us smile. And Jill has just posted, if you're not seeing it, the 2 links for one for the ensuring the student primary profile sign-in, and then Facebook Live for Chapel. So those 2 links are there for your usage. We have a quiet group today, Jill.
We do. That's okay. I don't know if that means we're asleep or what's going on. I feel like I should say, everyone, unmute your mic right now and let's see what we want to do. But it's okay if you don't have questions or concerns. What I will encourage you to do is that when and if you do have them, please reach out to the teacher if it's class related, to the to your advisor if it has something to do with your student in general, to me if you're not sure who to ask, or you have a bigger question, or Amy Beth if it has to do with technology. Barry, we are enjoying our conversations with folks as the questions come in and as suggestions come in. So even though we're apart, please don't be too quiet.
If there is a comment from the Stewart family, my kids have been reluctant to turn the camera on and engage. They will talk to me about the lessons, but not share with the group. That's interesting. I laugh too, because one of the things that we found in art, several kids weren't turning their cameras on. And so Mrs. Howard and myself both said, well, we would really like to see your face. How about you turn that camera on? And then they would. So know that teachers are aware of it and they want to see your children's faces. So we are asking for them to turn the cameras on. And they do. A couple of the students immediately turned on, and then it became, oh, there you are. How are you? It's so good to see you. So know that I am certain most teachers are asking to help fulfill that. And the more that they do it, the more comfortable they'll get with it. It's new. This was the first week, first lessons.
Right.
It won't be as much of an issue as we move forward.
Right. And developmentally, like while they want to be independent and be their own people and be different, they don't really want to do that on camera in front of other people. So that just developmentally is a step that we're helping them get over. And even without, despite the COVID-19 and learning situation, we know we live in a world where we and anyone who's younger than us has to be ready, willing, and able to put themselves out there. So we're trying to foster that and encourage that and do that. And advisory meetings yesterday wasn't the first time they had to do it, but know that we have that built in to get them more used to it. So.
Agreed. And Jenny Randolph states, I think my daughter really misses the social aspect of the school, yet she is reluctant to go to study halls. She's always been a strong student, and I'm not sure she is putting her best effort forward in this new environment. I absolutely would agree. Jill?
So I was going to say, wait, PX. I would say this too. Parents, this is a place where you can use your advisor, so you don't have to be the person. If you want us to invite your student to study hall, either your advisor or the teacher is a great person to say, hey, can you invite my child to study hall? I would really like them to have to sign in. And when the teacher makes the request, it takes the burden off the parent, right? Because it shouldn't be yours anyways. And it kind of, in a gentle way, it forces the issue. So if you want that to happen, we can make that happen. That's a back door we can easily open and have the student walk through. And if you can't, let's see. She's back on. Let's see, if you, since you're still thinking, if you don't have an Instagram account, I would suggest that you get one. I would download the app, and at the very least, follow St. Anne's, so that you can see the neat stuff that's being posted on Instagram. And Instagram is generally, it's just pictures, so there's not a lot of text. And so, Matt, maybe you can put the what they should follow at, is it 211 St. Anne's? I don't want to misspeak. So maybe in the chat box, Matt Getting, you can, or Renee, you guys can type where they should follow on Instagram. If you don't have a Facebook,
will do. Yeah, we'll do. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks. Yeah. If you don't have a Facebook account, that's okay. The Instagram posts are really good. And then, let's see, what else? If you do have an Instagram account and you have Facebook, we would ask you to use the hashtags, We Are Heron Strong, hashtag We Are Heron Strong, and hashtag Heron Pride, or Heron Proud. Because when you do that, not only do you show your support for St. Anne's, but it also connects people who are curious about St. Anne's and are curious about what's going on here. So those are two important hashtags that you could use. Renee's just posted them in the chat box. Those are good things to use. And it allows them to see the great things that are going on. It also allows you to see them too. So those were two things that I would add. All right, I keep having to fill, it's okay if you guys, I have like a whole list here. This is like I'm a teacher. I have a contingency plan, so I over plan. So here we go. And these, none of what I'm about to say is epic. Because we're all home, I've seen some really neat ideas. I don't know if everyone in this forum knows, but between some teaching gigs, when we used to move a lot, do a lot of corporate moves with Chris, my husband, between teaching gigs, I homeschooled my kids. And when I homeschooled my kids, that plugs you into a completely different planet for information, which is really cool. And it gives you a neat experience. And so I'm going to make a couple recommendations that came to me when I was a homeschool mom. I'm not suggesting that you are homeschooling. In fact, I read a blog the other day that that was written by an educator who spent about 12 years in public school, and she also has her master's in curriculum, and also now has spent 12 or 13 years homeschooling. And her blog post was it was to parents, written to parents, and it said, you know, you are not homeschooling, you are crisis schooling, because this is a different situation. So it's not going to feel like you had all your plans, and actually we're not expecting you to homeschool. We hope that you'll guide and help your student in the middle school. But I thought it was interesting what she was writing about. So, but the next recommendations are ones that that I had. Since we're home, many of us are home together during the day. You might make, you know, we used to say try to have dinner together. Maybe it's lunch that's better for your family together, or maybe it's breakfast, and then establish some sort of kind of not routine, but something that you do there every time, whether it's, you know, you share, your kids share some new piece of learning they had, or some digital tool that they've learned about, or what imaginary friend they played with this morning, or what game they made up. Like, what games did you make up? That's something that was a recommendation to us, and we actually did that as a homeschool family. My son's always was about what he dressed up as, always, every single time. And then I would encourage you, sometimes in our busy lives, we get away from this, in middle school especially. But Chris and I, we read to our kids until they were in 8th grade. We read aloud as a group together until we were in 8th grade. And actually, my 29-year-old daughter and I were just, and my husband were just laughing yesterday about our favorite Junie B. Jones book that we read together. And it was the fruitcake story, Junie B. Jones and the something fruitcake. And we still laugh about it today, and she's 29. So that's a recommendation that I might make to you, that even though your kids are in middle school, read aloud together. Maybe it's something your student is reading. You know, you have the option. When we were home all the time, my kids read for 45 minutes every day, whatever they wanted to read. And so maybe it's something they share from something they're reading, an excerpt, or maybe it's, you know, I don't know. But I would encourage you, even in middle school, and even if you haven't been doing it, to maybe consider a read aloud time in your family. Anything else come in, Amy Beth? Oh, thank you, Jenny. So it looks like Barry has a question there.
Correct. Barry has a question. I forgot to turn my microphone back on. Barry has a question. How are your children responding to the new learning platform?
I'm happy to jump in with my parent hat on for a moment. My daughter Ava is actually doing really well with it. The routines have been extremely helpful, and just kind of having everything laid out so that she knows exactly what she needs to do. She sets her alarms, and so I think it's been really well organized, and that has helped keep her on track in a big way. And that for her and the way that she learns, that's really important. So I think she's off to a fantastic start. And thank you to all the middle school teachers, and Jill and Amy and everyone who's helped get this off the ground. It's been fantastic.
We have a comment from the O'Connor family. Reagan says it's good to see Mrs. Bennett and her friends. Google Meet and Zoom have been embraced by both kids. The Scotty family states Brianna is finding it fun. I do remind about due dates and how to present her work. And we have another question from Barry Davis. What are you doing to keep your students physically active? We have a comment from the Sabrina Stewart family. I think they may like it more than attending in person. I agree that it is organized and it's been a smooth transition from our point of view. I have two comments, one from the Wood family. Chase is doing Mr. Egan's morning PE. Yay, that's great to hear. And the O'Connor family states that we have been doing outdoor recess every day.
The morning PE is really pretty exciting.
Yeah, a comment from the Randolph family, not enough. I'm sure that there are some families who are finding that to be an issue. I know that I spoke with my advisees and we did a quick poll of how many were actually getting outside, and probably half of them, again, they're 8th graders, half of them said not yet, they had just gotten up. And the timing of our advisor meet was 10:30 this morning. So hopefully we can get them moving. But I love that kids are running around, working out daily. That's great. Alonzo is gardening and weeding. That's so wonderful to hear. And I do like Jill Riley's idea, the timer idea. Set a timer for brain breaks so that they can re-energize. I actually spoke to my advisees about that. I book in my calendar at 12:30, 1 hour walk, and I literally get up from the computer and walk away and go out. So the calendar pops up, the notification says time to walk. It's something that if you are prone to working and your students are prone to just sitting, that it's a good reminder and a good catch-all to help say, get up, get moving. Scotty family, I make sure they get outside a lot, fresh air, playing a lot of lacrosse. They were bummed the season was canceled, but they still play. Yeah, and Jill's got a comment. Please take pictures of your kids and share them with us. Absolutely. Post them to Instagram, Facebook, or email them. And you can post them on Facebook and Instagram with the hashtags so that we can track it. The hashtags are listed for you in the chat.
One comment that I wanted to make is that, you know, during this time, it's as odd a time as it is, it's still an opportunity for us to become even closer as a community. So the information that you'll be receiving from faculty members and from Jill and from Val, myself, we're really looking to do things that are going to keep us working toward building the community. Once we get through this challenging spot with this whole COVID thing, we still on the other side of it want to make sure that we're coming out stronger as a school community. So by sharing pictures, by you know, taking part on Instagram or taking part when we do something with Facebook Live or any of those things, it really does not only does it help the time go by faster in a much more enjoyable way, but it also helps us to continue to build community. So any ideas that you have of things that you think maybe we should be thinking about doing, please don't hesitate to share those either.
All right, we have come to the end of our time, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Certainly this isn't an end to our communication, but for this week, it's an end to our coffee hour for this session. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat box. And you know, you've shared some good ideas. We love your feedback that you give us, positive, constructive, however the feedback is, it helps us be better. So let's stay in touch. We have lots of people who are making adjustments, you, your kids, and our teachers, and myself, and all the administrative team. For week 2, because we just did our first iteration in a design thinking process, and next week will be our second iteration. At least, it's probably more for most people. And we'll be strong together. We'll be hair and strong together. So thank you for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. If you have friends who missed the session this morning, this will be posted to our COVID-19 page, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. You just drag your cursor to the bottom and you hang up the little red phone if you need help. And thanks, Amy, Beth, and Val, Barry. Thanks for your help this morning, and Matt. Renee.
Happy Saturday.